what I thought we,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
recording in progress. Got it. What I thought we'd do today, and this is really for you, it's not for me, but Tyreek asked me to talk a little bit about my history and my, how where I've come from, how I've gotten here. And then I want to open up to Q&A. And what I really think is probably most valuable is if I could help you guys answer questions about your businesses, about funding your businesses, about how you get to some of these resources. And one of the things you'll learn very quickly from me is that I don't sugarcoat things. I tell it like it is. I'm direct and honest. I tell entrepreneurs when they come and see me and talk to me that, if you want to feel good about your business, go ask your mother. But if you want honest feedback about where the problems are and how you can fix it, come ask me. And literally, my wife had a shirt made for me when I was running Techstars that embroidered in it. She said, "We'll tell you your baby is ugly," because I'm not afraid to tell you your baby's ugly. Because if your business isn't going to work, you're better off finding out about it now than working on it for years, spending a bunch of money, a bunch of your opportunity costs, your time on something that isn't going to get there. Now, the caveat to that is there are many things I thought wouldn't work that I was wrong about. Like, I'll be clear. I mean, I can point to businesses you guys probably know here in Chicago. One of the more popular ones was Cameo. Anybody here ever use Cameo? You know what Cameo is? So Cameo is a business where you can get whether it's a sports star or a movie star to, record a little video for you that you give to a friend as a birthday present or something. So, you can have whatever. They don't have people quite as big as Rihanna, but you could have Rihanna saying, "Oh, happy birthday, Bruce. I just wanted to wish you a good birthday from my friend Aaron and Tyreek. They wanted to wish you a happy birthday and blah blah blah." Whatever you text, she'll record and play. Anyway, I thought that was just a fad. Turns out they've raised a lot of money. They've done hundreds of millions of dollars worth of revenue. We'll see where it ends up. But the point is, I'll give you my opinion. It's worth every penny you pay for it. And sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. So anyway, all right. So real quickly, just to give you a little bit of an idea of my background. So I was an engineer in college, and when I graduated from college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I didn't want to work in a field of engineers of cubes. If you think about those old Dilbert cartoons, that's what it felt like when I went to interview at these big engineering companies. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I loved solving problems. I loved solving people's problems. And I had spent 2 years, 2 summers working as a programmer. This is a long time ago. The IBM PC was just becoming a legitimate business tool. And I realized that there were a lot of places, a lot of businesses that wanted to use this new tool, and they didn't have the software to run it. If you were a business, if you were a hardware store and you needed an inventory program, you were fine. There were things you could put on it. But if you needed to do something custom with the computer, you didn't know where to turn and you didn't know how to program it. And I knew that I could solve those problems for people. And so I decided I was going to go into business for myself. I did not know what that meant. All I knew was that I had a pretty supportive family. I lived in my parents' house. I worked out of the basement, and I decided to try this. And so my first customer was a jewelry wholesaler, where the thing that was unique or interesting about them was the value of their inventory changed every day based on the price of gold. And so they needed an inventory program where you could change the price of thousands of items at the snap of a finger based on the price of gold every day. And so I wrote a custom program for them, and they used it. They ended up using it for 15, 20 years. They loved it. And then I got another customer, and then I got another customer. And what was beautiful about this business was I didn't have to invest a lot of money into anything other than the computer. And I could bill for my time, make revenue, invest that, take the next customer. And, at the end of a year, I had more business than I knew what to do with. So I convinced a friend of mine who I'd gone to high school and college with to come join me as a partner, and he joined. So we doubled in the first year. The next year, we hired 2 more people. The next year after that, we hired 4 more people. All of this was just on our own revenue. I didn't know what venture capital was. I had never heard that term. As a matter of fact, you guys probably have learned a little bit about accounting and how to run a business. I was running a business. I did not know the difference between a balance sheet and an income statement. I had no idea. I was an engineer. I knew, how to do engineering stuff and programming. And about 2 years in, I realized I actually needed to learn about business because when we went to a bank, they asked us for a balance sheet. And I literally said, a balance sheet? Oh, well, I think I got one of those. It's in the back of my checkbook here where you write down what your bank balance is every day, right? That's the balance sheet. They laughed at me and didn't give me the money I wanted. So I realized I needed to learn about these things. And so I learned about business. I went back to school in the evenings. I took some business classes. And that business grew. And pretty soon we had 12 professionals and we were doing work. We wrote Hyatt's worldwide purchasing system. So we had software in every Hyatt hotel in the world. Now, most of you, I'll exclude Bruce here, don't remember a time before the internet, but the internet didn't exist when we did this back in 1992. And so what they would do is they had computers in every hotel in the world, but they were FedExing diskettes back and forth to get the data back and forth because there was no internet to connect them. And they thought this was amazing. And we did a lot of work for Abbott Labs and McDonald's and CDW. And then in 1992, the end of 92, one of our customers, Medline Industries, decided they wanted to buy our software company because they wanted to be able to do what we did for our customers. They wanted to do for their customers, which were hospitals and nursing homes. They wanted to deepen their relationship with hospitals and nursing homes by providing them software, in addition to providing them bedpans and linens and syringes and all the stuff they did. I didn't want to sell, so I said no. And the beautiful thing about saying no is they really wanted to buy even more now that I turned them down and said no. And so they came back with a better offer. And I said, that's really nice, but we're not interested in selling. We were having fun. We were 12 people in a loft building in Chicago in Lincoln Park. We were having a ball. I mean, the oldest person in the company, I think, was 27 years old. And so they came back with a third offer and a fourth offer. Finally, they came back with an offer that was enough that it seemed like it was more than the company was worth to us. We were negotiating from a position of strength because we really didn't want to sell. There's a lesson there. And so we got a lot of the things we wanted. We got to run the division of Medline as though it was its own company. So we weren't in their headquarters. We were in a different building. We brought the company to Evanston.
What was the name of that firm?
So Medline is the parent company, and our division was called Systemetrics Software Solutions, Systemetrics. And by the time I had a 5-year earnout, which was way too long, by the way. So I had to work there for 5 years to earn the money they were paying me for the company. But at the end of that 5 years, we had software in 10% of the hospitals around the country. 600 hospitals were running our software. There are about 6,000 in the US. And we added way more value to their company than I ever could have imagined. We were, we had grown. We were about 55 people. Our division did, I think, about $7-8 million in revenue, which sounds like a lot of money, but Medline is a big company. And what we ended up doing, let me see if I can explain this easily. When a hospital would come to us and they wanted our software, we'd show it to them and they'd say, well, how much does it cost? It's going to be way too expensive. We're a nonprofit. We can't afford it. I'd say, that's okay. I can cut a deal with the Medline sales rep. The software costs $2,000 a month. But we'll sell you the software and you don't have to pay us in cash. The Medline sales rep will sell you the same products you're buying from Baxter at the same price, and 2% of everything you buy will pay for my bill. And so if you just move $100,000 a month worth of hospital supplies from Baxter to Medline, you'll get the software for free. And the people who ran the material management department, that's what we were doing, inventory, loved it because they got the most modern, newest software they could. They didn't have to pay a penny for it. They made their departments more efficient, and they look like heroes in the hospital. And they didn't have to go ask for permission. They didn't have to go to budget committees and vice president of finance and CFO. They just could get it done. And at the end of my 5 years, our little 55-person software company had tied up over $125 million in incremental sales for Medline each year. And there's a big lesson in there. And the lesson is that when we sold the business, we sold it based on what it was worth to us, which was very, very small compared to that number. What we should have done is understood what it was worth to the buying company and been able to get a much higher price for it. You see, when the value of the acquirer to the acquirer is worth more than the value to the seller, there's an opportunity for a price where both sides are happy. The bigger that gap, the bigger the opportunity. We sold way down here for barely more than we thought it was worth. We could have literally gotten 10 times as much for the company. It still would have made Medline a lot of money, right? So understanding why the buyer is buying and what the benefit to the buyer is really important. But I learned a ton in those 5 years. It was a great experience. I have no regrets. And then after that, has anybody here played Jackbox games, or you don't know Jack? Anybody? No? Really? Okay, well, there's a company here in Chicago. So I think you don't know Jack. Jackbox Games has had over 100 million people play it in the last 5 years, but it's created by a company called Jellyvision here in Chicago. The founder of Jellyvision, Harry Gottlieb, is a really good friend. He convinced me after I left Medline to come help him set up the technology for Jellyvision back in 1997. After that, I started a company called Sure Payroll. Sure Payroll was the first internet payroll company in the country. So we had this idea that the way payroll used to be done with telephone operators and mainframe people and physically delivering checks could be done through the internet. This was in the very early days of the internet, 99, 2000. And the payroll people thought it couldn't be done. We didn't know any better because we weren't from payroll, and we did it anyway. So we started the first internet payroll company. Today, Paychex is Sure Payroll is a division of Paychex. Paychex bought that company. And then I ran a publishing company and a data company. And then about 20 years ago, I got really involved in helping other entrepreneurs because that's what I love to do. And it started with teaching at Northwestern, entrepreneurship, investing in early stage digital technology companies. So personally investing, which is called angel investing. Then I started with a group of other people, 3 other people, an accelerator called initially Accelerate Labs, now called Techstars Chicago here in Chicago. I ran that for 7 years. And then I helped start a venture fund called Math Venture Partners. And a venture fund is where we have investors who entrust us with money that we then invest in early stage digital technology companies. When those companies sell or have an exit, we get money back that we then distribute to the investors. It's sort of like a mutual fund, except instead of investing in public companies, they're investing in early stage technology companies. And so today we still run that venture fund, Math Venture Partners, and we have about 50 active companies in our portfolio. We're not making new investments. We decided not to raise another series of funds. We decided not to raise another fund. The economy is difficult. And so while I'm still helping those 50 companies, I'm spending a bunch of time. 1 quarter a year, I teach a class at Northwestern. And then I spend a bunch of time helping entrepreneurs, which is sort of what I'm trying to do here. And so I would love to be able to find, 1 or 2 of you, 3, whatever, where the needs that you have match up with the skills that I have, and that I can help, and we can, work together if possible. Not always, but that's what I do today. So I spend time managing the companies. I teach 1 quarter a year, and then spend a bunch of time with entrepreneurs. I have open office hours on Friday. I have a bunch that I'm, meeting with through various programs, et cetera, and helping with. So that's kind of my story. I'd love to field questions, whatever's interesting to you, whether it's about my story, whether it's about the future, whether it's about a business you're working on. How can I be of help?
And you guys can either come off of mute or type your questions in the chat. Just anything you like.
And I was really encouraged by what Sunshine Enterprise is doing in Evanston. So I live in Evanston. And I was over there, saw the building that I saw it before it was really being rehabbed. I think, are you rehabbing it now? Is that the process started?
No, you talking about Sunshine Gospel Ministries, the building that they are repurchasing, or
I
Sunshine
think
Gospel Ministry does the rehabbing. Sunshine Enterprises, we're not
I
doing development work
think
yet.
I think what Troy is referring to is the Aux building
The
in
Aux
Evanston,
building.
Oh, in
Yes.
which is
Evanston.
a
Okay.
the Aux is being led by a team of entrepreneurs, some of which have matriculated through the Sunshine Enterprise Community Business Academy. So their
Yes.
vision for their entrepreneurial endeavors was this creative multi-purpose space in Evanston, referred to or named as the Aux. And they've been pursuing it quite diligently and have got a lot of support from the city of Evanston and other areas, and would love to be connected. Northwestern University is aware of the work in that area. And again, we would absolutely love to have a connection with you and others from the community of Evanston and Northwestern that have really been so supportive of entrepreneurial activity.
Yeah. Chenille.
Hi, I'm Chanel.
Hello. Oh, Chanel, sorry.
It's all good.
I'll mess
My
up everybody's name.
It's okay. My question is, what advice about setting up a business in terms of like legal, accounting, or marketing would you give us entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so it depends at what stage you are. So the first thing, and this was something that I learned when I set up my first business way back when, and I forgot who told me, but it's really important that you separate your business activity from your personal activity. So the first thing you should do is you have to form an entity, and you can do that simply. You can do that online. There are people who can help you. I'll bet there are people at Sunshine who can help you with that. It can be various types, but you want to have an entity that is separate from your personal identity. And the reason for that, and you've probably heard of a C Corp or an LLC or a partnership, it could be any one of those things. But the reason you want to do that is that you want to separate the risk. If your business fails, you want it to be its own entity so that if something fails about it, it fails, but it can't go after your personal possessions. It can't go after your car or your home or your anything else, your bank account, right? So you want to separate that risk. And so, sometimes there are certainly online tools like LegalZoom that you can use to set up this separate entity. In Illinois, I think it costs $75 to set up a corporation in the state of Illinois. So you fill out a little form that asks you 7 questions: the name of your business, the address of your business, who owns the business. I mean, it's really simple. You don't need a lawyer. And then you give them a check for, I believe it's $75. And now you have an Illinois C corporation. You then write a letter to the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, and say, hey, I'm a new C corporation. I need to have what's called an employee ID, EIN, employee ID number, which is sort of like a social security number, but for a business. And then when you do business as the business. So you open up a separate checking account for the business using that EIN and the business name. And any money that comes in from the business goes into that account. And then the business can pay you if you're an employee of the business. You could use a payroll service. It can pay you, and then that goes to your personal account. But you have separated the two entities so that if there's a liability, I don't know what your business is, but maybe somebody gets hurt on the premises of your business and says, well, I'm going to sue. Well, all they can sue is the business. They can't sue you because you're just a shareholder in the business, just like you could be a shareholder if you bought stock in Facebook. Somebody can sue Facebook, but they can't sue you because you're a shareholder, right? And so the first thing is separate those and have very clear. So in my In my wallet, I have a personal credit card and I have a credit card from Math Venture Partners, which is the name of our venture fund. And if it's a business expense, it goes on the Math Venture Partners card. And if it's a personal expense, it goes on the personal, and I keep them totally separate. It's easier for accounting, it's easier for legal, et cetera. So that's one. Two is that one thing I think many entrepreneurs fail to do enough is understand their customer. They understand what they want, but it doesn't matter what you want. It matters what the customer wants. And there's a really great book, and it's geared towards technology businesses, but I think it applies to almost all businesses, called The Lean Startup by a guy named Eric Ries. And it is a small paperback book. And, you know, Bruce mentioned 1871, which is this co-working space in downtown Chicago, right in the Merchandise Mart. And I think every single person at 1871 has read The Lean Startup. I think they keep it under their pillow at night, so they learn it while they're sleeping through osmosis. It is so important. And what The Lean Startup is all about is teaching you how to have a thesis, an idea of why your customer might want the product you're selling, and then how to test it very quickly and very inexpensively. And only when you go through that testing do you learn what the customers really want, which enables you to then do more of the thing they want and less of the thing they don't want, right? So I'll make a simple example. Let's say you had a restaurant. Rather than spending time preparing fancy menus and getting the recipes perfect and all that stuff and then opening your doors, what you really should do is try a bunch of different recipes. Let a bunch of customers come in and try it really quick. Don't worry about printing fancy menus. Don't worry about buying lots of ingredients. Just give them the opportunity and then talk to them and understand which things they like and which they don't. You'll be surprised. And then double down on those things that the customers really want and back off of the things that they don't. And the Lean Startup does a really good job of that. If you prefer to learn through video, I think I can find this really quickly. Udacity, I believe it's still free. There is a class. Yes, it is still free. It's video, and this is from Stanford Business School. It's taught, let me just double check that it's still, yeah, it's taught by Steve Blank. I'll put a link in the group chat here, who is kind of the grandfather of entrepreneurship. And it's an amazing course. This is like taking a Stanford Business School class, but taking it for free on video. It has, let's see, I'm looking at it right now. It's broken up into 12 class sessions. You watch the video, he gives you suggested homework, you do a little work, you watch the video, you take, so you can get a Stanford education for free. He's amazing. And by the way, if you read The Lean Startup, Eric Ries was a student of Steve Blank's, who took Steve Blank's class in person at Stanford and then thought it was so impactful, he wrote a book about it and called it The Lean Startup. These are two different perspectives on the same set of ideas. When I was teaching at Northwestern, one of the classes I was teaching, I actually used this very class that I put the link into, the Udacity class, and I had my Northwestern students watch the lesson because Steve Blank did a better job lecturing than I did. And then we talked about it in the classroom and discussed it. Then we'd watch the next lesson. And it's a really great class for thinking about how you're going to build a startup. And if I remember correctly, the startup that he uses as an example was someone who thought they were going to sell sports jerseys, like, you know, Chicago Bears jerseys with the names of the players on the back and who they're going to market to and why. And through the course, it's not surprising, they learned that what they thought was going to be the best-selling product wasn't. They learned from their customers what the customers really wanted. The customer ended up being a different customer than they expected. And so it's a really good example of how to go through this discovery process. And Steve Blank says, you know, no business plan has ever survived its first encounter with a real customer. No matter how hard you think and you study and you write it all out, until you've actually encountered real customers, you don't know. So second thing is make sure that you use these techniques to focus your business and your products on the products that the customers want. And then the third part about marketing, marketing comes after you understand that you have what's called product market fit, which means that the market wants the thing that you're selling. And if you have good product market fit, a lot of times, a lot of marketing happens automatically because people like your product. They tell their friends, they're excited about it. They tell their friends, right? That's the best thing, is if it goes viral. And it does that when you have a great match between what your service and what the customers want. So at the end of the day, it's all about the customer. And so many entrepreneurs forget that. And you have to be reminded of it over and over and over again. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Thank you so much for that, Troy. Really appreciate that. This is Quandra. I would like to take this moment for you to get to know a little bit about everyone in the room. I don't know if anyone
Great.
had an opportunity to introduce themselves or not, but I think it'll be wonderful to know the name of the person. So everyone, if you can please start off with your name, the name of your business, and a description of your business, so Troy can get an idea who's in the room, who's he's speaking to, and then also you all could get to know who's all in the room as well. So I just think that
Now, I
would
do
just...
see someone who has her hand up. It looks like she may have a question. Can we take
Okay,
that
can we
one
get to your
first?
question, Ms.
Oh,
Johnson, after we go through introductions? And then we can start off with questions at that point. So why don't we start with you? You can introduce yourself, and then we'll definitely come back.
and I'd love to know what your business does in one sentence. We call that an elevator pitch. I'd love to hear your elevator pitch for each of you.
My name is Marquise Johnson, and I'm the owner of Platinum Medical Staffing. We are a healthcare staffing agency located here in the Chicagoland area, and we like to keep healthcare facilities smartly staffed so that way they have the right staffing ratios to ensure that the customers and the patients receive quality healthcare.
So that's awesome. And I think I know exactly what you do. But what I don't know from that is how you're different than all the other staffing agencies out there. So what makes you special, different, and better?
That's what I'm working on, my marketing.
So and maybe it's a matter of semantics, but I'd argue it's marketing will help you accentuate the differences that exist. But I really think you need to identify where the gap is in the market. Where are your customers, which are probably nursing homes and hospitals and clinics, right?
Yes.
Where are they unhappy with the current solutions? And how do you fulfill that gap with something that's better for them?
Correct. And that's what I wanted to kind of with my sales and leads generation, because what I've been doing is I've been cold calling and trying to complete like a certain list of discovery calls just to find out how I can be better and differentiate myself, and actually
Awesome.
encourage them to partner local, because I am a Chicagoan, I am a nurse, and so I feel like I have more experience from different angles and different views that can better serve them. So just trying to figure out how I can reach them to get that information. It's been a challenge.
Customer discovery is hard, but if you do it well and you understand where the gaps are and where the customers are unhappy with their current solution and how you can do something different. So I'm going to make stuff up. Let's say, for instance, that you talk to a bunch of clinics and they say, oh, one thing that's a pain is that I have to hire people by the day. And sometimes I only need them for half a day, or sometimes I need them for 2 hours, but I have to pay for a full day. If you hear that a few times, you might think, ooh, I'm going to have a more flexible solution. You pay as you go, right? I don't know if I made that up. I'm probably wrong, but those are the kinds of things that you're listening for. What difficulties do you have with your current solution? How could we do it better?
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, love it.
Okay, Carletta, do you want to go next?
Yes, hi. And I had a question in the chat also. But my name is Carletta Kelly. My business is called Miss Kelly's Reality LLC. It is a virtual executive assistant and business solutions business. I create bridges for entrepreneurs or nonprofit organizations that might have one or two people. And so maybe they need help with someone to do their social media posting, create a newsletter for them, schedule meetings, connect them with vendors for whatever projects they have, or event planning. And that's why.
Awesome. So you're helping people who need assistance, but not on a full-time basis.
Correct.
So you're a more economical solution than trying to hire someone full-time or.
Correct. Project-based.
Got it. And I saw your question about time billing software. I haven't used time billing software in a long time because I haven't billed for my time in a long, long time. So I'm not a good resource for that. I apologize.
That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Who's next?
Brian, do you want to go? Oh, you're on mute.
There we go.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Hi, Troy. My company is the Brisabella Food Application. Basically, is an app where where you can create recipes based off what's already existing in your kitchen. So the problem that we see with based off our research, people have a lot of food waste in their homes, and we're trying to eliminate that food waste by basically whatever you scanned from your kitchen would create a recipe, and it'll be sustainable and give you pretty good substitutions on what you can use based on what's in your kitchen.
All right, that's awesome. I would encourage you. So with each one of you, I'm gonna try to give a different kind of tip, right? So on this one, I'd encourage you all to start with the problem. So let me try to take what I think Brian's doing and repeat it back to him, but I'm gonna try to do it in a different way. In today's economy, money's tight. Nobody loves to waste food. Nobody likes to waste food. We have an app that solves that problem for you. You simply scan the barcodes of the things in your kitchen once. The app knows all of the ingredients that you have and can recommend recipes and meals for you based on what you already have, reducing your food waste, reducing your food cost, and making cooking easy. I made that up, but was that pretty good?
You nailed it.
but see how I started with the problem and started with a problem everybody can relate to. Today's economy is tough. Nobody likes to waste money and nobody likes to waste food. We solve that problem. And then I tell you how we do it. Simply scan, blah, 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 blah. So I think it's powerful to start with the consumer problem or the customer problem. But I think that's great. I've seen some other apps that do things like this. I've never seen any of them get enough traction. And I think the one key here, the challenge that you will have, or that I've seen other people have, is what I call time to value. The idea is awesome. And everybody wants to, there are very few people who would say, no, I want to waste food. No, I want to waste money. Like nobody says that, right? The problem is there's a lot of effort that has to go into setting it up. I got to scan all the things in my kitchen. I can't scan I got a turkey. It doesn't have a barcode on it. I got to write the word turkey. Like it takes some effort until you get value out of it. And so if you can figure out how to reduce that time to perceived value so that someone opens your app, here's the example. Facebook, the first time you signed into Facebook, you probably looked at it. It looked at your contacts. It said, oh, here are the 27 friends that are already on it. You're like, oh my God, I didn't know so-and-so went on a trip, or so-and-so had a kid, or so-and-so just did this thing. You got value out of it in the first 30 seconds you were on it. Groupon, when it first came out, if you remember, you had to get a critical mass of people to get the Groupon. And so, but you went to the homepage and you saw, oh, I get $50 worth of stuff for $25. That's awesome. Oh, I got to tell all my friends, because you needed to get 100 people to buy the thing for it to work, to hit the tipping point. But you saw the value right away. Get $50 worth of stuff for 25 bucks. I get it. Time to value was really short. Those are companies that grew super fast. So Brian, I would challenge you to figure out how you can shorten the time from the customer first sees your app till they feel like, damn, this thing saved me a bunch of money. If you can make
Okay.
that instant, you know, the shorter the better, you're going to have a bazillion customers. If they have to spend 3 hours inventorying their kitchen, nobody's going to get through it. Nobody's going to see the value. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I would be focused maniacally on how to reduce time to value in this business. But I think it's a great idea. I love it.
Thank you.
Aaron, do you want to go next? I'm just going off whoever is on camera.
I'll take a stab at it. Recidivism is a major issue in the United States, and a lot of people returning home from incarceration, they don't have access to housing. So Escape the Odds Media is providing a platform that will allow for willing landlords to connect with verified, or I don't know if I want to use the word verified, but tenants who may have a criminal background but have been verified and that are responsible, and that can pretty much be responsible tenants. That's in a nutshell.
So I think this is an important thing you're trying to do, right? We're trying to do some good in the world here.
Right.
And I totally see how someone coming out of incarceration would want to participate in this because they need to have a place to stay. They may not have a place to stay. That's one side of your network. But for this to
Yeah.
work, the landlord has to want to participate. What's in it for the landlord?
That's the part I'm trying to figure out. I'm actually pivoting from the same company, Escape the Odds, but it's in a reform reentry space. But so I'm still trying to figure out the whole housing piece of that very question. So
Yeah, so I don't know that you're ready to tackle this, but I've seen a couple of businesses around this space. And there was one idea that I loved. And the idea that I loved was, and this was expensive, it was going to take some capital to do, but it was someone who was they were buying up like an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And they were going to house the folks who had just come out of incarceration. And as part of the housing agreement, you had to go to school. And the school was programming classes, graphic design classes, could be something else. They were focused on those two. They would give you a computer, they'd give you the classes, etc., teach you how to be a designer or programmer, and then place you in jobs, and they would get a small percentage of the pay that you got on the back end. And so what happened was you had aligning interests of the person coming out of incarceration wanted to get a job. The people who were providing the housing and meals and education wanted you to get a job because they were the better job you get, the better paying. And I don't know what the deal was. Was it, 10% of your first year? Whatever it is. I don't know what the right numbers were, but you had aligning interest. And so it was a company where the idea was one where you could do well while doing good. And it was how they were aligning those interests. It's tough. But that was one that I always intrigued me, and I never knew how it ended up working. It was out in California, the one that I had heard about and read about. But if you're going to have a two-sided network, you have to have something of value for both sides. And so in your case, I don't see what the value is for the landlord.
yeah.
And so you have to work on what that value really is.
Got you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, who wants to go next? Yinshol, you want to go next?
Did you say me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Yensel Love Williams. I own Night Owl Digital Agency, which is a digital marketing company that provides SEO services to entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their online presence as well as gain website traffic.
All right. And how are you different than the 100 other SEO agencies in Chicago?
Trying to figure that out.
Okay. Do you know what website or entrepreneurs with websites are looking for that they're not getting from the other agencies? You'll see a pattern here, everybody. I'm looking for the gap in the market, right?
I do not. So I originally started off with website design and development because that's what I had a background in. I was doing that in corporate space, and I went into the entrepreneurship space, and I was getting business that way. And then I went into the SEO because I started noticing that a lot of the folks that I was working with was always asking questions like, well, I want to figure out how to get on Google. I want to figure out how to, like, put my business that way a person can Google map me or, come directly to my business and kind of gain website traffic. So that's what originally got me to merge into that space. But as
And
far
where have you learned SEO from?
experience. So I worked in corporate, sorry, you can hear my kids back there, but I worked in
Okay.
corporate for a long time. So just kind of experience.
Yeah, so you know what's interesting? There's a guy in Chicago I know, great guy, Brent Payne, who's probably one of the top 10 SEO guys in the country or the world, frankly. And I'd love to, I can go deep with you on SEO, but I'm going to share with you I got to find it. That's not it. Give me 1 second. He has been using AI to automate some SEO. And the reason I'm going to share this link with you is that you might be able to use it to help you with your clients. So what Page Perfect, this link I give you is you can go in and put in a website and list of pages, and it will understand the tone of voice of the website. It will understand the keywords. You put in some keywords. It's really cheap. It's like 50 cents a page, something like that. I think it's 50 cents a page. And it will give you back a spreadsheet of, here's the title tag you should use. Here's some content. Here's the H1, H2, H3. And it might be a way for you to get some real expertise in SEO. And you can just use that. Your clients don't need to know you're using it, but use that to get a bunch of work done and enable you to be more effective at SEO more quickly with less labor and less research, because the AI engine is doing the research. He's a great guy. If you want to talk more, feel free to reach out to me. SEO is something that I do know a bunch about. And so in one of my companies, the publishing company, I was the lead SEO person. Now, it was like 15 years ago, 12 years ago. So I'm out of date. I keep up with it somewhat, but I'm out of date. And Brent is just amazing. So he was the lead SEO for the Chicago Tribune. And in 2 years, he quadrupled their traffic with SEO. Think about how big the base was for the Chicago Tribune, and he 4X'd their traffic in 2 years. Like, he's amazing. I got lots of Brent Payne stories. He's also crazy. He's certifiably crazy. So, but he's really, really smart. So anyway, take a look at that if you want. Here's my contact information, and any of you can use it, but here's my contact information. If you want to talk about it more, reach out to me.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, Clement, want to go next?
Sure. My name is Clement Townsend. So I'm an ed tech. I'm the founder of Video Pro Learning. So we help teachers take their traditional, everyday, mundane lessons and turn them into dynamic multimedia assignments.
That's awesome. When you say teachers, do you mean like public school teachers, elementary, high school, college? Like, who is your target market?
Middle school teachers.
Middle school teachers. And who pays for this?
So the ultimate business model will be for the school to pay for it.
Yeah. And why will the school pay for it?
So through customer discovery and working with teachers, it boosts student engagement. It helps students get technology skills. It gives students an additional way to display their understanding, and it makes learning relevant for the students. Certainly video is a prevalent part of our society. Video is a part of culture. And it's an opportunity for students to actually take what they're learning and create something. So it has plenty of benefits for the students, which will make the school want to pay for that.
So I think that's great. And I love creating engaging presentations, and I think you're onto a track. But I think the job to be done, or the why the school will pay for it, may need a little more refinement. Let me be specific, and I'm going to mess this up because I'm not from ed tech, but I think I know a little bit, which is schools get graded based on the progress their students make in certain tests, standardized tests, et cetera. And they get funded based on the students making certain progress. And if they don't make enough progress, they can lose funding, as well as they get funded on attendance. And so if you are a school principal and you're worried about losing funding because of grades or because of attendance, and you have a tool that can help you increase student grades and increase on standardized tests and on the right standardized tests and increase attendance because they're more engaged, you get more funding. If you solve that problem for the principal, you will get funding to to help your teachers, right? And so rather than just talking about it generically, it's good for the students, they learn more. I would be really specific about the person who's making the decision to pay you money, how it makes that person's life better. And specifically, if you can help the principal, I don't know if it's the principal that's the decision maker, but roll with me. The principal have confidence that he or she is going to get more funding next year, is going to have the resources, et cetera, because your tool makes students more engaged, helps students score higher on tests. Like they spend a lot of money on tutoring and all kinds of things to get those test scores up because they're ranked by him. And so if at the end of the day, you can say, we increase test scores on standardized tests, and you have data to prove it, you will get paying customers. I'm directionally correct. I'm sure I don't have all the details right, but.
No, certainly you definitely on the right street. You know, student achievement is huge, you know, increasing test scores, making sure students are on grade level. I don't know of my platform if that's the actual outcome. So, you know, again, as I talk to maybe more principals and customer discovery, maybe I need to pivot or continue to refine it. You know, there are some schools that are leaning towards creativity and this collaboration and like kind of employable skills. And it's not just like test scores and grade levels. So trying to see how I can maybe, you know, put it together.
And along these lines, so you're selling into a school, and schools have budgets. And this, by the way, this is true not just for those of you selling into schools, but especially if you're selling into enterprises or big companies. They have budgets and they have buckets. I have this much money to spend for this department and this much money to spend on this and this much money to spend on that. Selling into a company that has a budget like this or a school with a budget like this is so much easier if you fit nice and neatly into one of their buckets, because they have budget. The person who makes the decision says, well, I've got, you know, $30,000 to spend in this bucket. I've only spent 20 this year. Sure, I can spend 10,000 with you. And it's done. It's a done deal. But if you come to them with something that is amazing, but it doesn't fit into any one of their buckets, they literally don't know how to write you a check. They don't know how to write you a purchase order because it's got to fit into their budget buckets. And so with schools, I would try to understand what are the buckets of budget that you have. And by the way, like during COVID, there were some new buckets that opened up about engagement and I don't even know what they are. Again, I'm not in ed tech, but there were a bunch of funding and federal dollars that were specifically for funding certain types of things. And so getting alignment between what your product does and what the budget buckets are will make it so much easier for you to sell.
That's helpful. I'll kind of look into that and try to, you know, do some more research on that. What bucket do I fit in? Thanks for that, Joy.
Yeah. All about sales. At the end of the day, if you don't have sales, you don't have a business. It's all about sales. Oh. Tariq, now you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. How you wanna go? You wanna go, Laura?
Are you calling me Lenora?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. I'm Lenora Blackamore. I am the owner of Mecca Marketing Group. I have over 25 years of web development experience. And in the last 6 years, I have been helping small businesses. In those 6 years, I've found a problem that I'm targeting women of color because they want to build their business online, but they're not tech savvy or have the resources and networks to do so. So Mecca Marketing work with these businesses to help them build, align their goals for their online success, um, using digital marketing and branding to build a really strong web presence.
So I think I've heard, I know who you're targeting. What I didn't hear in that pitch is why they want to come to you over coming to any one of, again, and this is, as we're doing this with Yentl, like 100 other web agencies. What problem do you solve that the other web agencies don't?
Well, they get me personally, and I have over 25 years of experience. I have built Ebony Jet online. We went from having, when I started with them as their web manager, they only had 6,000 online customers that would come in monthly. And by me building a robust website with engaging content with my team, we went from 6,000 a month to 1,000,000 a day of unique users that was coming to the website. And I turned around and did that for a marketing company. So I have the experience and the know-how. And so a lot of people think that if they just build a website, people will come, and that is not true. You have to engage you have to find out what it is that they need and then give it to them. And they'll look at you as the person that they want to do business with.
So what you're really selling is your personal expertise as opposed to a particular process, right?
Yes.
So imagine if we took your pitch and we shifted it a little bit to say, I'm trying to give me a second. I got to frame this.
Okay.
What's the name of the agency again?
Mecca Marketing Group is it's an acronym that stands for Making Engaging Creative Content Always.
Mecca. Okay, Mecca Marketing Group.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You know, Mecca Marketing Group is the brainchild of Lenora. Lenora not only has 25 years of experience building digital websites, but she took Ebony Jet from 6,000 monthly active users to over 1 million daily active users. Now that was a big company, but she's taking that knowledge and that experience and applying it to your business. Do you want to grow from 6,000 to a month to 1 million a day? Come call us.
I love it.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I don't have the exact words, but
right.
Like, you have this amazing resume that until I asked you why you're different, you didn't even reveal. You didn't reveal the name of the brand you worked for. You didn't reveal the results that you got. You just said, I got 25 years experience. A lot of people have 25 years experience now, but you actually have done this. You've lived this. You've been successful. Don't be shy about sharing your success, especially when it is fact-based, which that is, right? Think about it. I was telling you about Brent Payne. What was the thing you remembered about him? He Forexed Tribune's
true.
right? SEO in 2 years.
Yeah.
You know enough to know that to take Tribune's traffic and Forex it in 2 years takes some real work.
Yes.
Right? And they already have lots of content. It wasn't just about the content. It was about, you know, how he manipulated the SEO. So
yes,
don't be shy about flaunting your success, because that's why people are going to want to use you.
Okay. Well, then I have another fact. You can search for Ebony or Jet magazine now online because I work directly with Google to get all those magazines online.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't be shy.
Mm-hmm.
Go, Lenora.
Thank you, Quandra. Yeah.
Trying to see who hasn't gone. Chanel or who hasn't introduced themselves yet? Chanel?
Yeah, I came in right with the question. I wasn't
Yeah.
introducing myself. But I will now.
I love that you went right for the gusto. So go for it. Go for it. Now let's know who you are.
Okay. Well, business owners all have certain things in common, which is they wish they had more time and they wish they can clone themselves, not because they're just so handsome, but because they want someone as invested in their business as they are. So with Accurate Assistance, we're here to solve that problem, and we're helping business owners have more time, more so reclaim their time by taking on administrative tasks that the business owner is focusing on, as well as social media postings for them. We're being we want to learn the business with that business owner, and that's what makes us unique in comparison to virtual assistant businesses that are more project based. They help with a project, and then that's the end. Once it's over, it's over. But with us, we want to be with that individual for a longer amount of time, so that we can be that extension of the business. So that's what we do at Virtual Assistant Accurate Assistance.
So I can tell you are a quick learner. You've taken the things you've heard today. You started with the problem. You talked about the solution. You talked about the differentiation. You're an awesome learner. I would encourage you, I know they're recording this, to go back and listen to what you said and figure out how to remove, this is really hard, 50% of the words. What makes for good communication is being very concise and tight. And so I think your line of your line of thought was great. And this is probably the first time you pitched it this way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to practice and practice. How can I cut out words? How can I make it tighter? And I think, and I loved your opening. So all business, the one thing business owners all have in common is they wish they had more time and they wish they could clone themselves for sales. Well, we can't invent time and we can't clone you for sales, but what we can do is take away a lot of the things that eat away at your time and enable you to spend more of your time selling. Now, what differentiates us in the market is we're not just a temporary resource to work on a project. We actually get to know your business because this is a long-term relationship where we expect to be engaged with you, not for weeks, not for months, but for years, because we're going to make you more efficient. We help you gain more time and spend more time doing what matters, which is selling. Now, I would practice that and I'd try to take a third of those words out. Again, the tighter you can make it, the more concise. There's a very famous quote by Samuel Clemens, who said, I'm blanking on his pen name. What was his pen name?
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain, thank you. Mark Twain, who said, I would have written you a shorter letter, only I didn't have the time. It's hard. It takes time to make these things tight and concise. It's easy to blabber on forever. I would have written you a shorter letter, only I didn't have my time. So, all right, let's keep going. That was great.
It might have been everybody. I think the only person who didn't go was Bruce.
Oh, but I know Bruce.
Does everyone in the room know Bruce? I don't think everybody know you, Bruce, even though they should.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, I am currently the facilitator of the Tech and Digital program with Sunshine Academy, Sunshine Enterprises. And I think this is our fourth cohort that we're in now. Laura and I were just talking about having 4 cohorts. So it's been a wonderful experience working with Sunshine in a variety of capacities. And it's absolutely wonderful what Quandra is doing to make the value, as we say all the time, the real benefit to Sunshine comes after you complete the 12-week Community Business Academy. I see some of my previous participants here this evening. Brian Barber was in the first or second cohort. And I think, I know I may have talked to Clement as a coaching activity as he was rolling out his engagement. And during COVID, I started a nonprofit called the Entrepreneur Success Program to do very similar what Troy has done, but my focus is working to support urban entrepreneurs that are solving problems in the communities where they live, work, and serve. And I think what differentiates me from 1871 and all the folks doing this downtown is a recognition that a lot of our entrepreneurs, as Troy has heard today, are already thinking about double bottom line. They're thinking about impact and income. And so they are, what I want to steer them towards is, instead of just being a social enterprise, I want them to be a scalable enterprise and have the opportunity to, and some of the greatest businesses in the history of America are in fact social impact organizations that started. Just because you have an intention on having impact doesn't mean you can't scale.
Absolutely. And I think there's been an argument for a while about nonprofits, and, nonprofits try to do a lot of good in the world, but I think if you can have a for-profit model that is doing good in the world, you can have a bigger impact, because it's not relying on city and state funding and donations, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a flywheel that gets going and starts having more and more impact. There's actually a company like that we invested in here in Chicago called Fixer, which is a home repair subscription. So your home is a lot of times your most valuable asset, and at Fixer you can go and sign up and have someone who will help you take care of your home. But their real mission, they're a B Corp, certified B Corp, and what they do is they really are training people. There are no what do you call it? Where you go to learn carpentry and trade schools. There are no trade schools in the Chicago anymore. And so they're really a trade school. So they're taking people who are underemployed or unemployed, teaching them how to do plumbing and simple carpentry and drywall and those skills, and then giving them a job, a W-2 job, not a Uber driver kind of, pick up the things as you can, but a W-2 full-time job, being a fixer and going out and helping people in their homes. And success for them is when their fixers quit and go start their own businesses, because they're trying to have impact and they're measuring the impact. And that's a company founded by Mike Evans, who was the guy who founded Grubhub. So he started with Grubhub. They really invented that business, the food delivery business. And then when he exited Grubhub, he decided he wanted to do more good in the world and created Fixer, the certified B Corp that's actually a trade school for teaching people the trades and helping them be employed. So I love the for-profit model for doing good.
Absolutely. There are some questions in the chat.
Let's take them.
Yeah, Carletta said she wanted to know more about the AI to automate research and marketing as well.
Yeah, so the specific website that I gave you a link to, which is pageperfect.ai, is what it does is it does specific research on your website and for the purpose of SEO. So it's trying to figure out what for terms you're trying to rank for, what are the websites that rank higher than you? What do they have in common? The AI engine will go out and gather a bunch of that stuff and summarize it for you. It's pretty amazing what they're doing. But they're not doing general purpose research in this particular site. I'm sure there are some people who are using AI. How many people here have played with ChatGPT? All right, only a hand, almost half of who I see. You should absolutely all be playing with it and starting to use it for creating, whether it's creating some content, even simple things like, I got to write a thank you letter to somebody and I don't know how, let it start the letter. You're going to have to edit it. But if you give it enough detail, it's amazing what it can produce for you. And so you say, oh, I want a thank you letter for the gift that was given on a blah, blah, blah for my birthday from, Bruce Montgomery. And you'll get it's a good first draft. It's not a good final draft, but it's a good first draft. But people who leverage generative AI are getting a lot more done.
And then Marquise asked, To know more info on using AI to automate HR recruitment tasks for her staffing agency.
So one of the things that I know, actually I'm wearing so this says Trainual. Trainual is one of our companies that we invested in. And Trainual is, the reason it's called Trainual is because it's an online training manual. So for your companies, you know, when you get to the point, their sweet spot is 25 to 100 employees. You have to have a lot of things that are codified. You know, how do we do expense forms? How do we do this? How do we do that? And Trainual is a great tool for storing all that. But anyway, what Trainual used to do is, as part of the Trainual platform, you could pull down, they had about a dozen job descriptions. I need a job description for a programmer. I need a job description for a salesperson. And they were just generic job descriptions. What they now do is they give a little form. What job are you looking for? What are some of the specifics you want? And then ChatGPT generates the job description. And it's an infinite number of them because you can answer the form questions any way you want. It's way more detailed. And so if I were in a recruiting agency, I would absolutely be using generative AI like ChatGPT for the first pass of my job descriptions. You'll get better. It's very interesting. Just like any tool, you get better at using the tool as you use it more. The first time you'll give it some generic stuff and it'll come back sort of generically, and you'll learn what you have to, how specific you have to be. And it is very good at producing first drafts and getting you really close. So that's one place I'd be using it. Clement asked about bootstrapping. So yeah, my first business was totally bootstrapped. I didn't even know what fundraising was. I've built businesses just about every way there is. I had an angel back business, I had a venture back business, I had a private equity back business. If you can pull off bootstrapping, it's awesome because you retain most of the ownership in the business. The challenge is that there are some businesses you can't bootstrap. ChatGPT, I just talked about. ChatGPT didn't have any revenue until they had spent literally over $100 million on research and development, servers and stuff. There's no way that business could be bootstrapped. So they had to raise a lot of outside money. A business that's a service business, like my first one where I was doing custom software development, I didn't really have any costs. I just, I had to find a customer and get someone and write a proposal. And then they said yes, and they give me a third of it as a down payment. And I'd write a bunch of code and I'd get the second third when I delivered the product. And I'd get the last third when they said it was free of bugs. And so I didn't need capital to grow. And those are great businesses because you retain control. It's sometimes hard depending on the business you're doing. I mean, if you want to open a restaurant, you've got to invest some money in equipment and build out, and you're not going to have any revenue the first little bit. And so you probably need some capital. You might be able to do it from savings, depending on how big the restaurant is, what you need. You might not. You might need to raise money. So I think the choice between bootstrapping and raising capital is more a function of the type of business and the structure of the business than it is necessarily that there are some things you could potentially bootstrap or raise money. But I'm a big fan of bootstrapping for businesses that you can. I see another question. Where specifically do you recommend getting accurate information when preparing for your business, market research included? Oof. So every business is different. There are some commonalities. I mean, there's accounting, balance sheet, income statement, that stuff. But every business is different. And so the best thing you can do is talk to mentors, get connected with people. So, there were two people here who were doing web development stuff in SEO. I know a little bit about SEO, but like if I was to connect you with someone, I connect you with Brent Payne because he's like the expert in SEO, right? And so leveraging the network you have, the Bruce Montgomerys of the world, now that he's gone, we can talk about him, right? But leveraging the Bruce Montgomerys of the world and the people here in Sunshine to connect you with experts in your field. And each business is really different. Like we talked about the EdTech business. I know a little bit about EdTech because I invested in one, but it was only one. And I haven't operated it. So I don't know enough. I have some ideas, but you got to get connected with people who know EdTech. I mean, my suggestion, I think it was Clement. Clement's the EdTech guy?
Mhm.
right? Yeah, was, you got to go talk to these schools and these principals and understand what are the targets they have that, that will get them more funding, or what are the problems, where are they falling short? Because if you can help them solve that burning problem, that like hair on fire problem, oh my God, if we don't get our students to score higher on 8 tests, I'm going to lose $50,000 of funding next year, or 500, I don't know what the numbers are. Like that's a hair on fire problem for the principal. If you can solve someone's hair on fire problem, they are going to pay you money. And so, like, I think the best thing you can do is talk to people from your industry, talk to mentors, and really leverage the network. The network is so powerful. And Bruce is a really well networked guy, for those of you who don't know him. I think I met him first 12, 15 years ago. Like, and he loves to help. So don't be shy about leaning on him for help.
Very, very true. And just in the interest of time, thank you all. I know we're a little bit over. So we will maybe, if everyone is still able to stay on, that's great. Maybe a couple of more questions. Tyreek, how many more questions do we have in the,
We got just one more.
Okay, so one more question. Okay, great.
Chanel just asked, how have you grown personally from becoming an entrepreneur, and how have you grown from helping other entrepreneurs?
Great question. So, when I first started as an entrepreneur, my first business, I realized it was no longer a game. Like, in school, I do the least amount I could do to get by and get the grade I wanted. And I was really good at just skating by and spending time. But then, and I distinctly remember this, I was in my parents' basement, no windows, totally, totally black. And I'm working on my very first program for a real paying customer. And I'm like, wait, they're going to run their business on this. Like, this has to be perfect. Like, there can't be any bugs in this thing. And I took it so seriously because I felt like my reputation was at stake, and that I was putting my name out there, neck out there. And so I definitely changed when I was doing things for myself as an entrepreneur than when I was doing things in school or at a job or for someone else. And I took it much more seriously. For me, helping other entrepreneurs is one of the most rewarding things I can do. I love doing it. I love seeing people succeed and grow. And so at the beginning of the call, I showed the picture of Neil Sellas Griffin, who's a great friend at this point. But he was a student. So Neil grew up on the South Side. Nobody in his family had ever finished college. And somehow, because he played football, he played football at Carmel High School, and he got into Northwestern. Now, he had never seen Northwestern. The first time he saw Northwestern was the day he moved in as a freshman. And he took my entrepreneurship class as a sophomore, and he was woefully underprepared. And he almost failed the class. It's usually juniors and seniors. And Neil came up to me after that class, and he said, "Troy, I want to be your TA next year." And I said to him, "Neil, you almost failed the class." And he says, "I know, that's why I want to be your TA. I want to hear the lectures again. I want to meet the mentors again. This is for me. I want to be an entrepreneur." And I felt like, you know what, I'm gonna give him a chance. Why not? And so he was my TA the next year, his junior year, and then he was the TA my senior year, and then he was TA the year after he graduated. He came back and was TA again. Neil is someone who will walk through walls. He is so determined. And all he needed was a little bit of help. And today, Neil started his own business. He did very well with his first business. I don't know if you know this, but he ran for mayor of Chicago. If you ever saw the TV series City So Real, which is awesome, about the Chicago mayoral election, Neil is featured in it. He didn't do very well. He didn't get elected mayor, but he did run. And then he got back into entrepreneurship, and he now runs Techstars Chicago, which is a program that I helped start and ran for 7 years. He's running a Techstars program in Silicon Valley. He has a venture fund that's called Rising Stars Fund, which is specifically to fund Black and brown entrepreneurs in that early gap where they, other people sometimes have access to friends and family money, and he wants to make sure that everybody does. So he has the Rising Stars Fund. Neil has been incredibly successful. He's only 33 years old, 34 years old now. And the joy that I get from feeling like I had some small part in helping him get from where he was to where he is today is awesome. It's more rewarding for me to help others than to build something myself at this point. And so I love doing it. And I'm sincere. I put my email in the chat here. Please feel free to reach out. If you do, make sure you're really clear. Hey, I met you in the Sunshine Enterprises thing. Here's my question, whatever. I do get a lot of spam. And so if it's something that looks like spam, I may miss it, but don't be shy. Reach out again. But I'm here, talking to you guys on a Tuesday night because I want to help.
Absolutely. And I can also attest that Troy is the real deal. He called me out of the blue. Well, we got connected through Trenton, but he stayed on me until we were able to connect. And he was very excited about doing this tech and digital workshop with you all here today. So very grateful for Troy. You did an amazing, amazing job just sharing good advice, Troy, listening, and also just really providing some good quality information to the clients who are here today. So really want to thank you for that. Maybe we can eventually get you to do a mastermind tech and digital class. So we'll work on you on that one.
Yeah, and there are a bunch of things that I do for entrepreneurs. One of the most the thing that I do the most often is and it's a pretty advanced session, but an advanced session on financial modeling. And it's it's multiple hours long, and it's about, once you actually have your business and understand a little bit about where it's going, how do you build a financial model or a digital twin of your business so that you can experiment with the digital twin to figure out what's going to work or not work before you experiment on your real business. And I'm happy to do that at some point. I do strongly recommend all of you look at either or both the Lean Startup or the Udacity class that I put the link into, which is really a video version of the Lean Startup. Because I think there's so many lessons in there, and I think it'd be great.
Great. Well, definitely everyone, hopefully you all have that information. Tyreek, if it's possible, can you please take all those links out of the chat? Because some people may have been, jumping back and forth and probably don't see all the links. And then we can send it out when we send out a recording. Okay. So real quick, Ms. Johnson, we'll give you one, allow you to do
No, it's just a
to
quick,
send us home.
Comment, Condra, just real quick. When you just talked about the financial model, that's something that I would definitely be interested in, because as a staffing agency, we have different billing rates. And so I've been trying to play with the numbers to see how low or how high it can go, plus compare them to other industry rates. So that will be something that will be very helpful for me.
Yeah, it's I'm happy to do a session for you guys. It is a couple hours long. I require homework up front. It's not simple, but if you do it and you understand it, it can be fundamental in changing I believe it can be fundamental in changing your business. So I'm happy to do that. I also have all kinds of blogs and recordings. If I'm going to point you, I'll put one more link in here, which is on the Math website. I have a bunch of short videos. Most of them are 2 to 4 minutes long about things for entrepreneurs. Now it's geared primarily towards tech entrepreneurs. So it's things about raising money and venture capital and all that. But if you go to that link, you will see lots of resources about things that some of them might be helpful. They're not all helpful to everybody, but you can scan through. There are about 45 of them and say, oh, that one looks interesting. Click on it, watch the short video, click on it, watch the short video. All right.
Wonderful. Well, it looks like we might have a class. I mean, a lot of people are putting in that they're interested, Troy. So I will definitely be in touch with you on that. And once again, I want to thank you all, not only for showing up on a Tuesday night, but also staying and then being a part of this. So really
lots of great questions.
Very a lot of good information, a lot of great questions. Thank you all for participating. And we look forward to seeing you all at the next workshop.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks all.